Freddie, I sort of take the no news is good news approach to Freddie. I don't see him often. Maybe once or twice a year. If there's a holiday or family gathering, he seems to have stayed out of trouble, as best as I know. Things could have obviously taken, really tragic turn. In a way they did, but he's alive and he's not incarcerated, so I view those as two pretty big victories. But he's in his late 20s. He's I don't know, he's 28, 29, and he's 28, and lives with his mom, and you sort of wonder about his capacity to really sort of care for himself and kind of be a productive adult.
Did any hot women want to sleep with you because of this book?
Not as many as I'd like. The book, what can I say without getting myself into trouble? It's nice when people pay attention to what I've written and think that's interesting. And if that makes me interesting, then then that makes me feel good.
Do you remember the scene where the counselor said that you were the Jew in the family?
I do remember that.
And that you were trying to, I don't think you explicitly said this, or the counselor explicitly said this, but I inferred from that you were trying to instill your Jewish values in Freddie. And if there's anything to that, what are your Jewish values as opposed to American values or Christian values or Hispanic family values?
Yeah, well, I think the counselor probably meant that on a couple different levels. I think that's part of what she was implying, but I do think that that she meant it more in the sense of kind of being the outsider in the family. I sort of thought it was my family. We were under my roof, but that I was kind of the alien. I was the one who didn't quite belong. I think my gut is that that's what she was getting at, more than what my values were. But part of the reason that she said that, and part of the reason why I didn't belong, had to do with those Jewish values. And obviously, a great reverence for learning and education and the written word, a sense of things needing to be just and equitable, and ultimately, I think this kind of deeply rooted duty to try to fix things when they don't add up the way they're supposed to. And I don't have any religious practices, but culturally, I think I am the heir to many thousands of years of Jews who have tried to fix and repair and rescue and be rescued. And that, I'm sure, is what the counselor was referring to as well.
Do you think that your desire, and in my view, the desire of most American Jews to try to fix and repair is a substitute for practicing their very onerous religion?
Explain that a little more. Like if you take on.
Instead of another thinker said this. Dennis Prager said, "Jews are the most religious people. It's just that for most Jews, their religion is a left-wing cause of the moment, not Judaism. So Jews are disproportionately active in every left-wing political movement for the last 200 years." And you mentioned your parents were Mensheviks. You mentioned Jewish values were fixed in repairing the world and trying to make things more equitable, which are generally left-wing concerns. So, do you think these are a substitute for what the traditional Jewish religious is very insular, very religiously, behaviorally demanding, but it doesn't really leave you with much time to try to fix and repair the world?
Because you got your own shit to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, if you're praying 3 times a day, and sure, you're putting on tefillin every day, you're studying Torah, and you're scrupulously observing the dietary laws, you really don't give a damn about Hispanics, blacks, and non-Jews in general, let alone not even non-Orthodox Jews. You just don't care because you don't have time.
It's an interesting notion. I've never really pondered that before. All I'll say is that I like the fact that Jews aren't looking to expand the membership rolls, and I have many times over my life, during the course of my life, where people have, mostly from Christian faiths, who have approached me and tried to nudge me in their direction, or more forcefully, and I just find it really, sort of strange and unsettling that someone wouldn't be satisfied, take a sufficient comfort in holding their own beliefs, that they would need to have somebody else join them in those beliefs. Yeah. So, because I'm totally cool with anybody's belief, but I have real difficulty sort of accepting that need to convert, and Jews have a good track record in that department.
How has being a father affected the way you view life?
Well, I guess I've always thought that if it didn't fundamentally change the way you view life, then something's deeply, tragically wrong with you. First and foremost, you come to the realization that your needs are secondary. You have somebody else who requires kind of support and stability, and nurturing, and that was sort of the beginning of the end of my life, carousing the cantinas of Echo Park. I'd be lying if I said I never did any more cantina carousing, but there's a real dramatic difference in sort of my behaviors and my risks, pre-fatherhood and post-fatherhood. It's a lot easier to be sort of live fast and hope to die when you're not a father, because who are you? You would be disappointing your parents, but there's something about disappointing your child. I mean, if you fuck up and you leave your kid hanging, or if you don't come home alive because you took some ridiculous chances, then I think you've committed some egregious transgression.
Aside from the ways you've mentioned, how has the publication